Okay, track guide for the GT3 cars round Detroit. Um, I'm using mid-engine car. The front engine cars might need a slightly different approach. I'm not sure, I don't know. I don't use them. But it will give you a rough idea anyway. If you're driving one of the mid-engine cars, of course, it will be pretty much the same as this. Let's just see. The weather we're using the same as, oh, I think it's the same that Wally uses. The track usage is the same. The only thing obviously we don't know is the time of day. I'm using the time of day that the league uses for the what they're called, the Pro Mazda USF or PM, whatever it is. 10 o'clock in the morning, 15th of April or whatever. I know Wally uses different times of days, but it's not on his schedule, so obviously I can't set it to whatever time it's meant to be. Okay, let's so obviously this is going to be my outlap, so the tyres are cold, brakes are cold, so it's not going to be a stunning lap. We're on the inside of turn 1 at the moment. This is a very quick S-bend, turns 1 and 2. On turn 1 here, you need to take a late apex and keep it tight to this wall here. So you're coming down on the right hand side of the track, which opens up turn 2. Now turn 2, which you're coming into now, again you want to be taking a late apex. Two reasons for this. Obviously if you take a late apex, it opens up the exit and you're travelling in more of a straight line onto this straight, which makes it easier to avoid hitting the wall. Whenever you take an early exit, the consequence of that is usually running out of track on exit, and if you run out of track here, of course you're going to hit the wall. There is a secondary issue here, and that is this crest which runs across the track, and the actual track drops away from this from here. So if you do take an early exit, or too early an exit, and you'll get around about here and you'll realise that you're going to hit the wall. So instinctively you'll probably crank on more steering lock. Cranking on steering lock as you go over the rise will cause problems of its own. So either way you're going to have an accident, either hitting the wall, spinning into the wall, spinning into the left hand wall, whatever. So it's really important on this bend to take a late apex, and you can drive with a lot more confidence knowing that you're safe from hitting that wall, and you can keep your wheels straight going over the crest. The track in general is very, very bumpy. There's obviously nothing we can do about that, nothing you can do about that. It interrupts with the traction when you're accelerating. The main problems with it is hitting the bumps in the braking areas. But with it being quite a heavy vehicle, again compared to the single seaters we use, it's not so much an issue as I've found with the PM 18, I think it's called. That's the one we use on a Wednesday night. So here, my brake reference is the 300 marker. I tend to brake about, I would guess about 325, something like that, but I am braking before the 300. Down to second gear, braking in a straight line. Now a lot of these curbs are quite, just let's back it back a little bit, there we go. A lot of these curbs are doable, you can drive over them. Again, it's easier because it's just the same as the single seater, in so much as that your inside wheel at this point is unloaded. That's the I mean, you can go across the grass, you can hit the curb, you can do what you want really, because there's very, very little effect with this wheel. It's either unloaded or it could even be off the ground. It's I know, watching some of the replays, once you're up to racing speed, the actual front wheel is waving around in the air, so it doesn't really matter where you place it. The thing here, of course, is just the same as turn 2, and that is the wall on the exit. So again, bear in mind, a later apex will be safer than like the geometric line or something like that. If you use the geometric line, that means you're turning exactly the same amount before the apex as you are after the apex, and in situations like this you want to be doing all your turning before the apex and basically having a straight ride out. So a late apex will sort that out. There you are, unwinding the steering, and then down here up to third gear. I use third gear for this. A slight brake going into the corner, just hold it, which touch of brake stops the understeer. This bend, unlike turn 3, which, you know, the one before, this bend actually opens up on the exit, so when you get onto the apex, you can start putting the throttle in. Don't forget, this actual lap, this is on cold tyres, so you know. Now here, I think I've just gone too far. Yeah. Here, there's where the cursor is now. There's like a kink in the wall. That is my reference for braking for this turn, which will be turn 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is turn 5. So brake down to second gear, and you want to avoid going up on this curve here. That really upsets the car. You want to get as close to the apex as you can. Again, a later apex is advised because again, we've got a wall on the outside. You don't want to hit that. Down there in second gear. Move across to the other side of the track as soon as you can. And here we've got another crest. So, and that crest is just before the turn. You can liken this bend to the left hand bend at Watkins Glen, where you go up the hill and round the left hand bend, and I think that left hand bend is actually joining the short circuit, and as you'll know from that, when you're going over a crest and turning at the same time, the car is going to get loose, and this does. Keep it tight as you can when you're turning in to the apex, and as I say, if you try to get a late apex as well, you can then put the throttle on straight away. If you was turning after this, then you would find you'd probably going to get some oversteer. So down to second gear, turn it in, and then back to throttle. This section's nice and wide, so you've got a good exit from that corner. you know, you've got a lot of track to play with. If you can, if there's nobody around you, just drive the shortest route down here. And I'm not keeping it tight to this wall here because we want to brake in a straight line. So I'm just keeping to the middle of the track. Now I'll turn it in, and as you can see we're turning in there, and I'm going to brake in a straight line. I start to brake just before this 400. I think it's just before the 400. Just a minute, I'll soon tell you. Oh, here we are. These white lines here are my brake reference for this turn. I'm on the brakes now, obviously, because I've got cold tyres and hardly any grip. But when we look at the next lap, which is like, you know, my tyres are reasonably warm for that one, then you'll probably see that I'm braking around about here. Keep it to the wall, as I say. Make sure you're braking in a straight line. Again, you've got one of these high curbs. It's going to throw the front inside wheel up into the air. Don't worry about that. As soon as you get onto that curb, you can go back to throttle with confidence. And the next thing to look for is this bit of wall here, where it's basically on the apex of the inside here. It's where this, how can I put it? We're going to go here. That's the important bit, this left-hander here. But you're going to get as close as you can to this wall, and where it sticks out there, that is my reference again for braking. So second gear, and it gets a bit boring, but as a late apex is better. You can get back to throttle on the apex, as you can see. And then you want to try and carry as much speed as you can here. Now, it's tempting to carry as much speed as you can through this bend as well. However, immediately after this we've got a right hand bend, and that right hand bend leads onto a fast section of track. So a good exit from the right hand bend is your priority. So try to keep the car to the left hand side of the track as you come round here. So basically you're turning in and you're keeping close to the curb, as close as you can. So keep it in nice and tight on the left hand side. This bend on full fuel, 55 litres or whatever it is. I'm not sure what this car carries. Hang around, I haven't even looked at this. So 65. Okay. So we're carrying more fuel than the Ferrari. 65 litres. It's quite heavy. We've got cold tyres. I'll probably drop it down to first gear here. Once the tyres are working and burnt a little bit of fuel off, this will become a second gear corner. Yeah, I'm down to first gear now. Got to watch out for this one. The walls, as you can see, it steps out there and it steps out there. So it looks like you've got a nice wide track, but they've probably taken a metre or two off the track here. Just be wary of that, because if you miss that apex, if you're a couple of feet away from that apex, you've got a good chance of hitting these. So just take care there. Keep it tight to the wall now. It's a little, this bend can appear to be a bit look to be a bit quicker than it is. I find this quite a how can I say? It tempts you to go too quickly. I use second gear in this car, and probably around about 200 I'll be looking to brake when the tyres are warm, obviously. Second gear, and then on the apex you can accelerate, look, keep it out to the wall, and then third gear, again you can hammer it coming out of there, and this bend isn't a bend, just keep it tight to the wall, use all the track, take it out, and this is now coming into turn 1. The start of the red adverts, the Coca-Cola I believe, is a good reference for your braking, and as I said earlier on, you want to keep it tight, late apex, and keep it tight. So keep the brake on, get the weight on the front of the car. As soon as you know you're going to keep it in the line you want to take, you can go back to throttle. So let me just wind this back. Oh, Jesus Christ. There we go. So I'll play the next lap in full time, in real time, and then you get a better idea of the lap. And there's a lap of Detroit. I hope it's useful.